So I'm going to have a look at this mod by GTX called Store Sales. I want to show you a couple of different things here with this particular mod. Just a very quick breakdown of what the mod actually does. It adds the ability to have brands at a discounted cost. So whatever that might be, Fent, Lizard, New Holland, whatever, a completely random time you will be offered a discount on whatever that brand might be. So that's pretty much how, what the mod does. But there are some other parts to it that for custom maps need to be added into the map itself. Now for the base game maps, the extra parts, the signage, the visuals, they are dynamically loaded through the scripting. But for custom maps, you have to add it in as a map builder. You need to add it into your map yourself. There's only so much, depending on the file structure and folder structure and whatever else, there's no way of knowing every single map out there. It's just impossible. So it has to be done by the map builder themselves. So this is what we're going to have a look at. But what I want to do is show you base game first of all, what we would actually be shown. I'm just going to use Felsborough in this particular case, but it would be the same for Ravenport, whatever. Just a different store itself, but the signage will be the same, just placed differently around the store, depending on the structure of the store and all that sort of stuff. But the signage is what I want to show you base game, and then we're going to have a look at how to add those parts into a custom map. So I'm going to load up Felsborough and then we'll go to the store and have a look at all that sort of stuff. Okay, so we're now in Felsborough, and at the moment obviously we don't have any signs or anything showing up, but we're going to force the issue, or force the scripting to run, not issue, event, force the event to actually run, so that we can actually see what occurs at a particular time. So at the moment we have nothing on sale at all, as you can see here. So this is where you would go to get the discount for whatever brand. At the moment nothing is on sale. If you have console commands, you can open up the console window with the tilde key, and then in here just type SS and then tab until you get to start store sale, and then type in there true, and then this will basically get the event running. So it says store brand sale will start in the next hour. So I'm just going to speed up some time here with the easy dev controls. So we just press 8 on the keyboard, speed up some time, we get round to the next hour, and there we go. We've now got our signs show up. So we've got plenty of them. There's loads around. We've got all around the store here, on the store front, on the windows, signage here, and it's saying we have a brand sale with 5% off. So if we go back in the store, go into here, and you can see at the moment everything to do with Lizard is on sale. So you can go through all of this stuff. So everything on sale, everything to do with Lizard, the Lizard brand, now has a 5% discount. This is completely random. It could be 15%, could be 30%, could be whatever. The random number generator just basically calculates whatever and gives it a random number of some description. So in this particular case it's 5%. Next time it could be 15. Next time after that it could be 30, whatever. But this is what I want to show you. So we have all of these different signs that show up around the store, and again on the store front itself, on the glass there. We have various different signs over here. So there's one here. What you'll notice here is this particular sign is exactly the same as the one that was over there, but it has no base. So if we look at this one, it has no base because it's stuck into the grass, into non-solid ground, loose ground. It doesn't need a base. It can be just stuck straight into the grass. Whereas if we look at this one over here, it's on concrete or asphalt or whatever this might be, so it has a base. All of these different things need to be set up appropriately if you're going to use the actual visual parts that come with the mod itself on your particular custom map. If you want to make your own custom flags and signs, that is also possible, and there are some additional user attributes that need to be then included, but that I'm not going get into in this particular video. I might revisit that and make some signs, custom signs, and look at that in another video. This particular video is just to get you up and running with this, so you can have all of these different signs. Now, very important, the mod will work on your custom maps, no problems. It will give you the discount and everything else. The only thing that you will not get is the visual signage and the flags. That's the only thing that you will be lacking. The mod itself will work perfectly fine. It will give you the random discounts, and you will see the pop-up just below the clock and everything, and it will say that Lizard is on sale for 5% discount, whatever. And if you go into the store page, you'll still get all of this stuff. So if you don't want to add all of the custom flag and signage to your map, you do not have to. I just want to stress that, very important, because it's just extra visuals. So the mod will work perfectly fine as is on your maps with no extras, no extra work whatsoever. But if you want to have all of the extra visuals, the flags and the signs, then there are some things, as I say, that need to be added into the map, and that's what we're going to have a look at. So I'm going to come out of Fellspring here. I just wanted to show you what we potentially could end up with, depending on how we want to set it up on our custom maps. But I wanted to show you that first of all, so you can see what it should look like, and then hopefully we're going to reproduce this on a custom map. So we're going to exit out of here, and then we'll go into a custom map, and we'll have a bit of a play around and add some user attributes and things like that, and see where we end up. Okay, so before we start playing around with the map and adding all the other parts, if you're comfortable editing XML and things like that, and you want to have the console command activated so you can activate, when you're testing this stuff, if you didn't know this already, you want to type in the SS start store sale command to activate it, to make sure everything's working. You need to go into your documents folder, and then my games, or whatever that might be called, and then Farming Simulator 2019, where you basically put your mods and your mod folders. And if you come down to where it says Game XML, open this one up in your text editor. I'm using Notepad++. You want to come down to where it says console, and then under where it's got enabled, change that from false to true, and then just basically save this and close it down. And then when you go into game, you can access the console through the tilde key on your keyboard, wherever that might be for whatever country you're in, because I understand that some keyboards aren't all the same. I'm using an English style keyboard, so mine is top left up by the number 1 key, just above the tab key, but yours might be somewhere else. You'll need to find where the tilde key is on your particular keyboard, and then you can access the console commands and then type in what you need to type in to get it all working. Okay, so once we've got to that part, basically what you need to do then is go into your My Games folder, and then Farm Sim 19, go into wherever you've got the store sales mod. So once you've downloaded it, so click download it to wherever you want to download it to, whether it's on your desktop, the mods folder, whatever. And once you've done that, you'll end up with a zip file. So you need to extract this. I'm using 7-zip, so I just go right click, 7-zip, and then extract to the FS19 store sales folder. I like to keep everything contained in a folder, so I'd extract to there. If you want to put it on your desktop like I have, you would just basically right click, drag, and then release, and then just go 7-zip and extract to folder, and it will then extract it to your desktop. I like to work on my desktop, not have everything cluttered up in my mods folder, but whatever works for you. So once you have it extracted, we need to then go into the SDK folder. I didn't show you that, but it does actually say that on the Farming Sim website. So if we go back to here, down the bottom here it says Map Builders. So it says please see SDK folder for information about adding flag and signage support to your maps vehicle shop with no script required. Okay. So once you've extracted it out, you need to open it up and then go into the SDK folder, and there's an XML in here which contains all the information to set up your map. So there is no requirement to add any scripts to a map prepared to display vehicle shop signage or flags. This allows support to be added to maps submitted for both console and PC combined without the need for individual submissions due to the scripts. So basically what that is saying is if you are making a map for console and PC, you can add all of this stuff into the map, and then it will still be supported by the console because the console version won't support the scripting because you can't have scripts on console. But basically you don't need to submit a different version. You don't need to submit two versions. You don't need to submit a console version and a PC version. You just need to add all of this stuff in, submit it for both console and PC, and all of this stuff will be ignored on console. It can be there, it just won't be relevant to console players. It will only work obviously for PC players because the script is PC and Mac only. Hopefully that makes sense. So if we're going to basically add support for vehicle shop flags and signage, it is possible by adding the following onCreate attribute to a map node via the user attributes window in Giants Editor. Giants Editor, yeah, GE Giants Editor. So empty transform groups can now be placed inside this node and will act as link nodes. So basically that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to be using this particular map, Oak Hill. So I'm going to open this up in the Giants Editor. 822 is what I'm using. As far as I know, that's still the latest version. So we'll just wait for that to load in. And basically what we need to do is add in some user attributes so that the scripting knows what it wants to do and how it needs to do things. So we need to set up some different transform groups and then obviously add in those attributes where appropriate. So I've already done this just to make sure I could get my head around everything. It's not that complicated, but my first attempt did actually fail because I had too many empty transform groups, or too many. I set it up in a way that I thought would work, but it ended up not working. So I'm going to show you the way that I got it to work. Well, let's just go through it anyway. So this is the first way I did it. I set up a transform group, and then basically I had two more transform groups. So these ones here, I basically had inside of this one, and then I called this one flag and this one sign, and then I had more transform groups. So if we just do this, so this one here was inside of this one, and this one here was inside of this one. So we had like this, and then this was my signs, this was my flags. But that didn't work. You can't. The way that this is that I set it up this way, it didn't work. I would either, depending on which way round I had these. So let's just say, for argument's sake, this was my signs. They would show up, but the flags would not. If I flipped them, so this was then my flags and this was my signs, then the flags would show up and the signs wouldn't, even with all of the user attributes in place. So that won't work, in my opinion. So you need to keep it way simpler than that. Don't do it that way. So what we will do instead, if I get rid of everything, we're going to set it up in a way I know does work. So what we do is create a transform group here. And I'm just going to basically call this store sales. And I'm just doing this because if I was to revisit a map I was making, and you've just got a bunch of empty transform groups, you might not remember what you did with it. So it's ideal in most cases to, set these transform groups up with some sort of name that's appropriate to what they are meant for, so that if you do want to come back and make changes later on, you can look at it and go, oh yeah, that was for that particular mod, or that was particularly, that was for that, or whatever else. Just my way of doing things. So I'm going to create that transform group. Then I'm going to create another one, and middle mouse button and drag until it's highlighted, let go, and that will then make that a child of that particular transform group. And then in this one here, I'm going to rename this to flags and flags and signs. Again, call that whatever you want, not relevant, but just make sure again it's something. Well, I guess it is relevant. Make sure it's relevant to what it is, what I'm saying. But what you name it is not relevant. But as long as you name it something that is relevant to what it is. Good Lord, I'm confusing myself now. Anyway, so what we're going to do then is let's go back to the instructions here. So basically, we're going to add in our flags and our signs. So we need to set that up. Now, what you could potentially do here is create more empty transform groups and then put them into there, and then take your transform group and place it wherever you think is appropriate. So for example, I come over here and I might say, right, I want a flag there, so I'll just go Control B and click. But that's fine and everything, but I've got no visuals at the moment to know what the flag is going to look like in that position. It might be too far out, it might be rotated incorrectly, could be all sorts of different things. And even more so when you do your signs, if I was to use this as a sign, for example, and I do like that, well, maybe not like that, but maybe like that, and then put it up against the building, what needs to be rotated where here? I've got no idea what is the front face, the back face, and I don't know if I need to rotate this in whatever direction for the sign to not be clipping into the building. So what I would recommend, instead of doing that, is to actually import the signs from the mod itself. So with this extracted, as I say, in here we have this shared folder, and we have our brand sales objects. Don't worry about the dynamically loaded ones. That again is for the base game maps. This is the one that you'd be working with. You can open that up and have a look and see what's inside of there. But basically, we're going to import that. So I'm just going to go File, Import. And as I've done this already, it automatically goes to that folder. But wherever you've got this, just open the folder up, Shared, and then we want the brand sale objects. We're going to double click on that and import it. So what I would do is just take these and then drag them, middle mouse button, and put them into there like so. So we have our flag and our sign. So with your, let's say we'll start with flags. So with that highlighted, I'm just going to come over here. I want to put a flag here somewhere. I'm going to go Control B for interactive placement and click. You can also do this with edit and interactive placement, whatever. And then with the flag highlighted, we can then position it. And I actually have now a visual that I can see exactly where everything needs to be without it kind of clipping into walls and things like that later on, hopefully. So we'll kind of just position that somewhere like there. But this does actually have a base. So if you want to make that visible, you can highlight it here in the scene graph, and then in the attributes window, click on visibility, put a tick in the box, and that will then make it visible. So you can see where that's going to end up if you choose to use it. And again, that will all be controlled by user attributes. So that one is fine. We'll go with that. Now, if I was putting this in the grass, for example, I might not want to use the base, as I said before, because it's then going to be in soft ground. You could potentially say that the flag pole was just stuck straight into the soft ground. But because I'm placing this on concrete, asphalt, whatever that is, I don't think that sticking it into, directly into the concrete would make much sense. So a base has been included that makes more sense. So what we're going to do then is just duplicate this. So we'll go Control D and make a duplication. And then I can do the same again. So let's just say we want another one over here. So we'll go Control B and click. And I have another flag over here. So we'll just basically put that into position, something like that. You can add whatever you need to add for your particular map or whatever you want to get out of it. So you might want to have, like on this particular map, flags over here so that drivers, passers-by would be able to see the for sale sign, or not for sale sign, but the brand sale at the discount, whatever. I keep saying it's a for sale sign, but it's not really. It's a brand sale, discounted brand sale. Anyway, whatever. So what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to move this one down because that's different. So here we've got our two flags, and then we're going to have our sign. So we'll just click on the sign, highlight that. And let's say we'll put a sign on the building here. So again, Control B for interactive placement, and we'll place it like so. We'll just rotate this around. You're never going to get it perfect. So just bring it out a little bit and then zoom out, make sure it's not flickering or whatever else. When you've got a flat sign like this up against an object that's got a normal map for the corrugation of the corrugated metal there, looks a bit weird, but that's when custom signs and things like that come into play. Or you could perhaps maybe make something that this would appear on. You could have another object somewhere else, whatever. And then we'll say we'll just put another one maybe around here, for example. Let's go Control D to make a duplication, Control B, and we'll click and put one here and just rotate that around best we can, something like that. And then we'll just drag it out a little bit. Again, zoom out and zoom in, make sure it's not flickering and all that sort of stuff. Good to go. Okay, so we've now got our flags and our signs in place, but we can't obviously leave those in the map as they are. We need to set up some other parts. So what I did in my previous go through is I created 2 new transform groups, and I called this one flag. So again, you can just copy the name from this one. So we'll just do copy, paste, and then the sign. So we'll take the name from there, copy, and paste like so. And then we're going to basically replace the objects here with the empty transform groups. So if I highlight the first one here, flag, I'm going to go edit, replace. Then what I want to do here, we have our flag loaded in. I'm going to highlight the flag empty transform group and load that into the replace with. So make sure you select your target and then your replace with. Load that in and we'll click replace. And now the flag itself has been replaced with that empty transform group. Do the same again with this one. So we'll click load and replace. Do the same with the sign. So we're going to select the sign, load, click on the sign empty transform group, load that one in and replace. And we'll do the same with this one, load and replace. Then close that, and then these can be deleted. Don't need those. So now we have our flags, or the empty transform groups, where the flags will end up once they're loaded in, and we have our signs. And everything is rotated correctly for that sign to display as it should do. Much easier than trying to work with empty transform groups and then having to go into game, see what it looks like, then come back out, make adjustments. You import the flags and the signs, you can place them exactly where you want them to be, and then just replace them with empty transform groups afterwards. So now we have our empty transform groups, we need to load in some user attributes. So these first ones are flags. By default, everything is a flag. So unless you tell it that it's a sign, it will assume it's a flag. So that's where the user attributes come into play. So we can see here we have our starting user attribute, which is the script callback, which loads the script in from the mod itself. So we need to add that first to our main transform group. So I'm going to take the onCreate from here, go back in the Giants editor. Our main transform group is the flag and signs transform group. So we're going to paste that in and then change the type to script callback. As it says in the instructions here, the type is a script callback. So we're going to copy the actual value from here. We're going to go Control C to copy that, and then we'll click add and then paste in our value and tab to lock that in. Fantastic. Then for each individual empty transform group, we need to add in a few extra user attributes. So if it is a sign, for each transform group that you wish to connect a sign to, add the following Boolean attribute via the user attributes window in Giants Editor. So we have is sign, with these aren't signs. So like I say, by default, it assumes it's a flag. So unless you tell it that it's a sign, they're all going to be flags. So these ones are flags, so we don't need to add that particular user attribute. In theory, you could add it. Like it says here, we have is sign, and the value is true. If you put the attribute in and then had the value as false, that potentially would work. I have not tested that, but in all honesty, it's just extra values that you're entering for no reason, because by default, as I say, everything is assumed to be a flag unless you tell it that it's a sign. So why enter extra information if it's not required? But you can play around with that if you so choose to. So like I say, this is the ones I'm working with at the moment are flags, so I don't need to enter that information. But like I said also before, because these are going to be in the concrete, asphalt, whatever, I would like the base to show up. So what I need to do is add in the use base attribute. So we're going to take the name from here. Just to read through this, for each transform group that you wish to connect a flag to, you can add the following optional Boolean attribute via the user attributes window in GE or Giants Editor. When true, so when the tick is in the box, a base will be added to the flag for use on solid ground such as tiles, concrete, etc. And like I say, because these are on the concrete, asphalt, whatever that is, I would like to use the base. So for both of these flags, I'm going to add in the user attribute, use base. This is a Boolean, so we click add, put a tick in the box. That is now true. Like I said before, if you left the tick out of the box, so it's false, that also may work for your signs or whatever else, whatever you want to set up, or well, not necessarily for your signs, but if you wanted to add extra user attributes. So if this particular flag was in the grass, like I said before, soft ground, I didn't want to use a base, I could still use this user attribute, just leave the tick out of the box. But like I keep saying, why use extra attributes if your user attributes if you don't need to? So in this particular case, I want to use the base, so I'm going to put a tick in the box. User attributes are weird. You know, you can add them in, and especially Booleans, ticks in boxes, no ticks in boxes, but if it doesn't need to have the user attribute there, then why add it in the first place? So anyway, so I want to do the same for this one. So I'm going to select that flag, paste that in, add, put a tick in the box. And for this one, because this is a sign, we need to tell it that it's a sign. Unlike the flags, again, everything is assumed to be a flag unless you tell it it's a flag. So for our signs, we need to tell it that it's a sign. So we come back to here and take the user attribute name of sign is sign. We're going to copy that and then paste that into there, add and tick the box. And again for this one, paste it in, add, put the tick in the box. Yeah, so again, going back to all the other stuff, for my flags, I could add that user attribute and then not put a tick in the box. But I know I'm repeating myself here, but user attributes, you can start to add user attributes all over the place. And all you're doing is just adding an extra calculation that the game's got to then take into consideration. And if it's not required, don't add it. It's just not necessary. Only add the user attributes when they are required, in my opinion at least. So I've added what I want to add, and like I say, no more. So we're pretty much good to go there. We don't need to add anything else. It's very straightforward in my opinion. If you are going to work with custom flags and signs, there are some optional user attributes. So if you wish to use your own custom flag or sign for an individual transform group shape, it is possible to add the following Boolean attribute via the user attributes window in Giants Editor. When true ticked, the node itself will be used rather than loading a dynamic object. So from what I understand, if you are going to use custom flags and signs, they will be left in the map. Unlike the other ones, which are dynamically loaded, the ones that are in the mod itself, so these ones here, which are dynamically loaded, if you're going to use your own custom flags and signs, they will be left in the map itself. And then what this will do is make them visible or invisible, depending on what you want to do with them. So these feature allows map creators to add billboards or signs around the town, etc., to add life to maps when a brand sale is active. So you would then use these particular user attributes, use self, Boolean, and if you have objects you wish to hide when a sale is active, you can add the following string attribute to the same node as the onCreate attribute via the user attributes window in Giants Editor. The values should then be the index of the node that contains the child nodes you wish to hide, example 0. All children within this node will then be hidden when the sale is active. So, lots of different things you can bring into play here. Then you would add this user attribute, hide on sale node. For each child node above, that will be hidden when a cell is active and is a shape with a collision. You may also add the following optional Boolean attribute via the user attributes window in Giants Editor. When true ticked, the shape collision will be disabled when a cell is active. So by using the dynamically loaded objects, they already have this set collision attribute on them. So the collisions will be turned off when the cell is not active. So basically, if the flag isn't visible, it won't have a collision. When the flag is visible, it will then have a collision. But if you're working with custom flags and signs, depending on what the sign is, if the sign is obviously attached to a building, like I did here, where the sign is actually on the side of the building itself has collisions, so we don't need to add another collision to the sign. But if it's a billboard or something that's going to then become visible when the sale is active, you would potentially want to put some kind of collision onto it. So then that's where this comes into play. So you would have your object in the map, and then this user attribute would be used, use self. When the cell becomes active, the billboard will become visible, and then if you have the set collision attribute, it will automatically then have a collision added, or the collision will be active. I'm going to look at that potentially in another video, because this is going to go on. I need to create some signs, or I would need to create some signs and flags in Blender to do that part, so I potentially would look at that in another video. And as I say, this is so if you want to check your operation, you can use the console command ss start store cell equals true in the console commands. So let's get rid of that. What we're going to do then is basically save the map, and then we'll go into game and just double check that this all works. Okay, so make sure that you have the store sales mod in your mod folder. I'm going to deactivate seasons and courseplay, everything else. All of these things won't hurt. They'll be fine. I can leave those activated. Yeah, most important, have the store sales mod in your mod folder. Otherwise, obviously, it's not going to work. So we'll start this up. And then we'll have a look and see what happens. Okay. So let's do that, and then we'll go over to the store, which is up here. So at the moment, we have no signs, we have no flags, as you can see, which is what we want. That's good, excellent, that's a good start. So I'm going to open up the console commands here with the tilde key, and then we'll just type in SS. We'll just tab through until we get to the start store sale. Then we'll just type in true, enter, and again, as I showed before on the Felsborough map, store brand sale will start in the next hour. So we'll speed up some time here with the easy dev controls, 8 on the keyboard. We'll just speed that up. I don't want to get to, if we do like so, there we go. Okay, so now it's saying all machines and tools from Unverfirth, oh good lord, whatever name is that, are currently on sale. And we now have our signs pop up. So our sign is popped up, it says brand sale 5% off, and we have our flags show up with the base. If we didn't have the use base attribute, user attribute, it would not have a base on it. So again, that would be ideal for things like your, putting your flags in the grass into loose ground. And we have our sign here, brand sale 5% off. So excellent, all working as intended. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully what I've shown there, helps you out if you were struggling with it, or considering having a look at the mod and you wanted to set it up for your custom maps. Now I will say again, the mod will work perfectly fine with custom maps. You just won't have the additional signage and flags if the map has not been prepared for it. But the other functions of the actual mod will work perfectly fine. So we'll just go into the brands page, and you can see here by this particular brand, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that again. It's on sale for a 5% discount. So yeah, that's pretty much what, that's pretty much what that's all about. So hopefully what I've shown helps you out. I'm Shell Wizard. Thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.